Module 6, Specialist Areas. The legal industry is segmented into a number of different specialist areas. We will now examine how various specialist legal practitioners use investigators in specific areas. Let's start with criminal defense lawyers. In defending allegations made against their clients, lawyers practicing this discipline often have to test the Crown's case to ensure that it meets the standard of proof, provide a defense to allegations, including but not limited to specified defenses in legislation, such as Section 271 of the Criminal Code, Queensland, self-defense against unprovoked assault, which makes it legal for a person to use such force as necessary to defend themselves against an unprovoked attack. Section 24 of the Criminal Code Queensland, mistake of fact, or Section 25 of the Criminal Code Queensland, extraordinary emergencies. Lawyers practicing in this discipline often have to also consider an alibi, testing the credit of a Crown witness, and introducing evidence relevant to their client's case. In meeting with these objectives, lawyers will often use experienced investigators for the following reasons, including brief examination and strategy development, verification of Crown brief and allegations, locating persons of interest, statement taking, investigations during trial, due diligence, covert operations. Let's talk about brief examination and strategy development. Often experienced investigators will look at allegations differently to that of lawyers and are skilled and experienced to offer the correct methodology relevant to the situation. This may include undertaking tasks such as research, door knocking, background checks, and reviewing third-party records. Investigators are also usually experienced in the creation of evidence matrices, where each allegation is identified and connected with relevant evidence within the brief and then used to compile defense. Let's talk about a case study. In a case where it was alleged that a defendant had driven through a red light and killed a person who had been legally crossing, things looked bad when the Crown presented 11 eyewitnesses who confirmed the allegations. The defendant categorically stated that the light was green when he entered the intersection and proceeded. Investigators recommended investigations with the relevant transport authority. Records obtained revealed that the particular lights were malfunctioning. On 28 occasions in the week leading up to the accident, reports had been made to this effect. 10 of these were after attendance by technicians the day before the incident. All complaints disclosed that this particular set of lights were changing back and forth to red and green randomly. Investigating police and the Crown admitted that they had not investigated this issue, and eventually the matter was withdrawn. Let's talk about verification of the Crown brief and allegations, which is very important in criminal defence. Investigators are often used to do the legwork. This might include attending scenes and making inquiries either during or after hours, identifying witnesses, ascertaining information, and reviewing information sources such as CCTV and other records, for example, nightclub entry records. Let's talk about another case study. In a case where an eyewitness formally identified 2 defendants who were alleged to be running from the scene of a pharmaceutical factory break-in, investigators worked out that the details within the witness's statement could not have been physically possible, as the point of observation noted was some 300 metres from where the defendants were alleged to have been identified. Furthermore, a brick wall existed between the parties, preventing observation. A videotaped reenactment conducted by investigators supported this position, creating an acquittal. Let's consider reliance upon an alibi. Investigators are often used to take statements from witnesses who can provide an alibi as to the defendant's whereabouts and also obtain and present support records such as telephone, surveillance, banking, and other records. With respect to locating persons of interest and statement taking, let's consider another case study. In a case where a young man was about to go on trial for rape and had instructed that his defence was one of consent, lawyers for the young man obtained the complainant's previous complaint history through discovery. The history disclosed a previously withdrawn rape complaint. Investigators were instructed to locate the male person who was subject to the withdrawn complaint. This was achieved quickly, and they were then engaged to interview this male as to his dealings with the complainant. Because investigators are trained in this field and the art of getting people to talk to them, some due diligence was firstly undertaken, establishing the male was in a relationship with a female who was now 3 months pregnant to him. Using tact and discretion, the male was approached by phone during work hours. Under the Invasion of Privacy Act 1971 Queensland, a person may legally record a conversation without the knowledge, notification or consent of the other party or parties to the conversation. As such, in this case, a legally recorded conversation was obtained. Trust was gained, and the person disclosed all dealings with the complainant as well as his lack of knowledge about any rape complaint made against him. He later agreed to give a statement, gave evidence for the defence, and the defendant was acquitted when the complainant admitted that she had falsified a previous complaint and withdraw it. Good investigators are experienced to find witnesses, get them to cooperate, and extract relevant information from them. Investigations during trial. Many investigators are called upon during the Crown case and trials to attend to matters urgently as an extension of the defence preparation, testing Crown information, verifying information, proofing and arranging witnesses' attendance and serving subpoenas. Due diligence. Probably the most sought-after service by lawyers is due diligence on Crown witnesses. Where credit is an issue, counsel have substantial benefit in cross-examination of a Crown witness when they are armed with information that will discredit the witness or at least know the answer to questions that are relevant. Covert operations. Where bail conditions do not restrict, careful covert operations by investigators have their place. Let's consider another case study. In a case where the defendant was alleged to have rigged the result of a sporting event and subsequently defrauded a bookmaker, a Crown witness who was alleged to have been part of the plot and had rolled with an indemnity was legally covertly recorded admitting to fabricating his evidence. The matter was dismissed. In another case where a medical practitioner was alleged to have sexually touched a young female patient during an examination and that patient swore on oath that she was a cleaner by occupation, surveillance clearly proved that she worked as a topless dancer by night and in a brothel by day, placing doubt upon her credibility and her truthfulness. This matter was eventually dismissed. Let's now consider the area of insurance law. Personal injury practitioners. Lawyers representing defendant insurers constantly use investigators to undertake general investigations, interview and take statements from witnesses, and undertake scene examination and surveillance. Lawyers representing plaintiffs use investigators to locate witnesses and take statements from them, undertake scene examination, identify previous complaints, carry out inquiries to identify defendants, or identify evidence of workplace system failure. Generally, with the emergence of a greater number of psychological injury claims, complex statements are required from plaintiffs, defendants, and witnesses, which require careful attention to each and every incident and the identification of relevant workplace policy and corroborative evidence. In the area of commercial insurance, legal practitioners may also involve investigators. Legal practitioners in this industry constantly use investigators for a wide range of inquiry work, not limited to arson, vehicle theft and damage, household loss and damage, and vessel theft and damage. In these matters, witnesses are interviewed and statements taken, scenes are carefully examined, and in some matters, recommendations as to loss adjustment are made.